I guess the biggest thing I would say is magic history is so important, whether it's just like knowing crediting for tricks or just sort of like knowing where things come from. And
Hi, welcome to the live stream of Slightly Smoking with your host, Jack Murdoch. And today's guest is Josh Janousky, great magician, great creator. I'm really excited to get into his mind and to vibe with him. Yo, yo, yo.
hello, how are you doing?
Doing excellent. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Great to have you on here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. Well, this is cool, man. I think I first came across you through Instagram, of course.
Yep,
Got a lot of great
that would make
videos.
sense.
You're always putting on
Thank
great
you.
content. And then I think I
Appreciate that.
met you at Magic Live, I think maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it would have been
I
about
remember
2 years ago.
you're on
Magic
it,
Live.
too. I remember you were sitting there playing, doing your magic, and when
Yep.
the phone turns into, I think it was like a deck of cards, or no, it was money.
It was
Took
in
the
some money, yeah,
Probably put it in
exactly.
a deck of cards.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
Honestly,
Good memory on that one.
yeah. A lot of great memories there. So much magic. It's like overwhelming, but you definitely
Oh
stuck
my
on
God,
my
yeah.
mind. All right, so let's dive into it, man. So, what's your background story? How'd you get into magic? What was like
Okay.
maybe your first experience with magic? Maybe as a kid, like.
Yeah, so I got into magic later. So as a kid, I always loved magic. I always thought it was cool. And like growing up, I had like 2 or 3 tricks, like nothing really anything big. I had like the hover card that they sold at Universal Studios because I'm originally from Orlando.
All
So
right.
you would see them doing that all the time. And then I had like this like electronic magic trick from Mattel where it was like a pharaoh that could read your mind. So I always liked magic, but like I never really got super into it. And then my senior year of high school, so I'm a musician before I was a magician. I play saxophone. And
Right
so
on.
we took a trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And when the like lower level band was performing, the advanced band, which was what I was in, we got to wander the city. And there was a magic shop there that I just spent my entire time. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Just like I was freaking out. So I bought 2 tricks. I bought sponge balls and pen through dollar, which looking back, I now realize is probably what like got me into money magic was that first trick.
Yeah.
But the thing that really got me at the end was I asked the guy working for his business card, and he just pulled it out of thin air. And like at the time, obviously I had no idea like what a back palm was or anything like that. So that just like blew my mind. How did he know I was gonna ask for his business card? That makes no sense. And so I spent like the next like maybe like month and a half after that trip trying to figure it out because like I was a smart guy. I was like, okay, obviously it's not real magic, so he has to have it somewhere. But I couldn't figure it out. And then I was Googling, so I found that, and then that pointed me in the direction of Penguin Magic. And at the time, Penguin had a forum. And so I joined the forum. That's how I met some of my best friends, Chris Beeson, Jeff Prace, met them through that. And so I would ask questions, and then people pointed me in the right direction. And now it's been almost 11 years since then. So
Wow,
that's sort of
that's awesome.
how it all happened. Yeah,
And so when you went into it, you just fell in love, and it just like bit you like the bug. And
exactly.
did you think about making it a career too, or was it something like, oh, I just want to have fun with this?
Yeah, it was like, so for me, it was definitely fun. I just enjoyed like having other people get those reactions. And then, I mean, I come from a creative background. Like I said, I was a musician, I'm an artist. I currently work in the animation industry. So for me, creating magic made sense. I was like, oh, cool, like I want to create my own tricks. And then it also came from being a broke college kid who couldn't afford any magic tricks. So I was
Yeah.
like, I just have to create my own. And so I started creating them. I started doing gigs. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I could definitely keep on doing this stuff. And then it just sort of exploded from there. And it's been great just because like, so my main number one passion is animation, which is what my career's in. But like, as I've progressed in animation and magic, I've realized how well they work together, which has been really cool because that was like totally unintended. I didn't realize that like these two industries would actually like fit.
Did you, and you started all in Florida. Are you still in Florida right
Yes.
now?
No, I am in Montreal, Quebec. I've been here for 2 years now.
Oh, wow, you're in Montreal. Nice.
Yeah, so up in Canada.
Right on. I've been
Yeah.
trying to get there. I only went there last, well, Canada, I went to Vancouver.
Oh,
But
nice.
I want to go up north and then go like east and get to Montreal that way. I was hoping to do that
Yeah.
summer, but I don't think so.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, Montreal's great, like once everything is not going crazy anymore. There's
Right.
like tons of festivals. It's like super, super multicultural here. Montreal totally feels like a European city. It feels completely different.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's a
always here.
really, really cool place.
Yeah, hopefully I'll go there. I'll see you over there as soon as it's all done. Maybe in the
Hopefully.
next year or so. So that's cool that
Yeah.
you got into magic right around early college years, and then you started to create your own magic, and
Yes, sir.
that's super cool. And I know you're a creative genius. You've got so much magic already. I love your fades, the
Thank
credit
you.
card to the dollar bill, and then I really like your bill a lot of cool bill effects.
Yeah.
The
I'm a big fan
what
of
is
money
it?
magic.
Ripped and replaced. Is that what it's
Ripped and
called?
relocated. Yeah.
You relocate, yeah, and you
Yeah.
put that up with Illusionist, right?
Yes, I was a
That's
illusionist.
awesome.
Yeah, that one, I love that one. It's like, I feel like that's one of my tricks that feels like a David Blaine TV moment. Like, there's a lot of magic out there that's so good, and then you'll always have like those few tricks that just like you see that and you go, I don't get it. And I feel like that's one of like my moments for that one, just because it doesn't make sense how it doesn't look like a bill anymore, so it just gives you this cool impossible
No, it's super cool.
memory,
When I saw it, I
basically.
was like, yeah, it's taking the mismade bill on a whole other level, you know?
Thank you.
So how do you come across creating? When you first think of the effect, or you stumble across it on accident? What's your process?
Honestly, I don't really have a creative process. I've had a lot of people ask me this, and like I wish I had an answer. Like, oh, pull out like a formula, and here it is. But like sometimes there's an effect I really like, and I want to come up with my own version. Sometimes there'll be an effect, and I want to come up with it in a different way, so using a different medium. A great example is Kalen Morelli's Quantum. When I first saw that, well before he released it, I thought that was so cool, and I loved it. But I wanted to do it with a dollar bill instead, just because, I mean, I love money magic. I thought it would be very interesting. And
Yeah.
I also thought it'd be a creative challenge. And so for that one, I had to come up with it and came up with a totally different method than his. But still, it was because I was like inspired by that moment. I was like, oh, okay, I want to come up with my own. And then there's been other times where it's just like I find something, there's a magic trick in there. There was a coworker who I worked with who had a mug at his desk. And one day I was just like playing with his mug, and he was like, what's going on? And it's because I realized you could turn that mug into like a light and heavy box kind of thing. And so I was trying to play around with like, oh, how can I like turn this into like a portable version of the light and heavy chest?
Yeah.
So it really depends. And then other times, like I'll make myself a goal. I'll be like, okay, I want to come up with a trick with a dollar bill, or I want to come up with a trick using a lighter, and I just try forcing myself to come up with something. So for me, I at least find that like having a bunch of different ways of approaching stuff kind of helps, because now it never really feels stale. And so if I'm getting frustrated by one thing and I'm just like, I can't come up with a lighter trick, maybe then I go, well, you know what? I really like copper silver. What can I do that's copper silver but not with coins? How can I do that with
Yeah.
Mentos or something weird like that, and then go into a different direction, sort of like refreshes.
Yeah, just like many great artists, they have all art projects going on, and you
Yeah,
focus on one, then you may get like stuck, and you're like, all right, let's hop on this one, and then it kind of all
exactly.
goes back in cycle. You know, that's
Yeah, I bounce around between stuff all the time. Like right now, I think I have like 3 different things that I'm currently working on, and I'm just sort of like cycling between them. So
that's cool. So what
yeah.
was like the first thing you came up with on your own? Like how did it start? Because in the beginning, I think a lot of magicians, they get into magic and like, how do I even come up with my own magic? Some are lucky enough and they're creative enough where they do create their new magic without ever seeing any magic, and I think that's really cool, and it's really original usually.
Yeah,
So
so for me, so the funny story is like the first couple things I came up with all ended up being Jay Sankey tricks from like the 80s. Like at the time, I didn't know anything about
right,
magic history. And so I would come up with these ideas and I'd show it to my friends and be like, "That's great. Here's the book where it was published by Jay Sankey." And I'm like, "Ah, I didn't know that." But it was good though because it sort of like
Start.
forced me to like, okay, like start learning about other magicians' work, start figuring it out. And then I'm trying to remember my first trick. There was two tricks that got published pretty much at the same time between Genie and Magic Magazine, and so I don't remember which one came out first. One was a trick called Charged Up, which was a really weird premise now that I think about it, but it's a battery and a signed playing card. And so you have a playing card that's signed, and you rub the battery on the playing card, and then you put the card back in the deck, you spread out the cards, and then you say the battery is going to find their card. And so the battery just rolls down the deck of cards and stops on a single card, and you see it like stop. And then you pick up the battery, the card comes up with it, and then you reveal that it's their signed card, and then they can check out the card in the battery. So like that was one of the first things. That was when again Kalen was doing his Project 365, where he was like creating a trick every single day. And I remember going, okay, if this dude can come up with a trick every single day, I can come up with a trick. And like I went into like my junk drawer, pulled out some stuff, and I found a battery and some playing cards, and that's how I came up with that one. So that came out, and then at like the same time, there was also a trick called The Alchemist, which is a color-changing ring. So you borrow a silver ring, you wrap it up in a piece of tissue paper, set it on fire, and then it turns into a gold ring. And so those were like the first two things that I ever had like released, and it was so exciting, just because like at the time, obviously, like I hadn't had anything released. I'm like, oh my god, I have two things coming out at the same time. This is so exciting. This is so crazy. And it was really funny because around the time that it was published, I think maybe like a month later, I went to a magic shop in New York because I was visiting my aunt. And so I come into the magic shop, and the guy sees me, and I ask him if there's anything new or cool that he can show me. And you could tell that he just assumed, because of like my age, that I was one of those like young illusionist theory 11 kids, as he put it, at the time, who like only would buy like the latest things from those sites and didn't really anything know about like old magic and stuff. And so it was hilarious because he's like, all right, I got some tricks you've never seen before. He pulls out Scotch and soda, and I'm like, I own Scotch and soda. He looks at me, he's like, okay. And then he starts going to Tarbell. I was like, yeah, no, I have the Tarbell course. And he's just like, what? And I was like, yeah, no, like I know magic. Look at page 58. And he opened it up and it was me. He was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. I totally just assumed like you were just one of those latest and greatest guys. It's like, no, I just like magic. So it was just really funny. Exactly. And it goes to show you can't really like judge a book by its cover, because you have no idea like that 14-year-old kid who might not look like they know anything could be like a creative genius with like a library of magic in their head. So it's really important, I think, to like just like treat everyone as you would want to be treated. It sort of
absolutely
got away from the question, but I'm glad we had a happy message at the end on that. So.
No, I mean it reminds me of like going to like magic conventions for the first time. It's like, and you never know. And I'm sure for many older guys, when they see a younger magician, and this kid is super knowledgeable and knows probably maybe more than you, and you're like,
yeah, exactly, yeah, and especially now with like the internet and the fact that you can buy instant downloads, and you can look at like all of Magic and Genie magazine online now. Like it's crazy, like how much you can now learn that just before, like you'd have to go to a library, you have to meet other magicians in person. And it's cool that now it's so widely accessible that like anyone can become like a total badass when it comes to magic. They just have to put in the time.
Yeah, there's unlimited resources online. It's crazy, and it's cool that you could actually now connect with them. I mean, just how I'm connecting with you, it's amazing how we really can just reach out to them. I think in the beginning too, when I got into the magic world, and we kind of look at the people like idols and their icons to us, or like celebrities to us. But to anyone else, they're like, no one knows who these people are. No one who's Gregory Wilson or Kaylin Morelli.
Exactly.
Like, no one knows at all. But for us, we're like, oh, there's that guy I see on the screen do amazing magic. And even in person, you see it in life, and it's amazing, and it's very humbling. And then it's also like, wow, okay, we still have a lot to learn from one another. and
100%.
it just
Yeah,
really pushes you. It's so inspiring to be around all those creative forces.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always so cool. And it's funny, like you were saying that like in the magic world you can be like a massive celebrity, but like outside of magic people might not know that. And like I remember I was at Magic Fest one year and me, Andy Gladwin, John Archer, Jeff McBride, and some other guys from Vanishing Ink, we all went to get dinner. And it was just really funny to me that like the waiters just were like, "Oh, like how are you guys doing?" And I'm just like, that's Jeff McBride. Like that, how do you not know like who that was? And they're just like, all right, so do you want cheesecake? Like I don't know what's going. It was really funny.
Like, this
So
is Jeff McBride right here.
exactly, I know. It's like because like to me, especially because when I first got into Magic, one of the first things I saw was a TV show called Celebricadabra,
Oh, I
and
think I
that TV,
remember that.
yeah, I love that show.
Totally,
It's super
I haven't thought
cheesy,
about that
but it's
since you just ever like you just brought that up. I
I
was like, oh,
have the DVD
you
on
have it?
I have the DVD, yeah. So um, I love that show, but that's how I actually learned about a lot of these magicians was through Celebrity Cadabra because Jeff McBride was a judge, and you had David Regal and Rocco and Silly Billy were all these coaches, and
Yeah.
so for me it was like it was really cool because obviously I was like, oh my God, these people were like these are huge magicians. And so then having dinner with Jeff was just already cool for me because I'm like, oh wow, this is Jeff McBride. And then it, like I said, it was just really funny to see that outside of the magic world, he was just a guide to everyone else. But like I'm like, what's happening right now? How did I get here? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, speak of the other Jeff, Grace is here too.
Yeah, speaking of Jeff
Hey.
Grace.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, so what was like stepping through the door, getting into involved with the magicians? Like, was it a tough process to push through to get in like the little group and the community?
So for me, originally for the longest time, the only magicians I knew were online. So they were people like Jeff and Chris from the Penguin Forums. And then I met one of my best friends, Sean Cinco, through the Theory 11 forums because I had posted a video of me doing magic at the college I was going to, and I was going to be transferring to another college the next year. And so he messaged me. He's like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to UCF. We should meet up sometime." And like I had never really met a magician in person. The only magician I had met at this time was Randy Shine, who had come to perform at my college. So he was literally the only magician I'd ever met. And so I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go meet this guy Sean. And like I wasn't sure just because this was also like the first time I was like meeting like an internet friend in person. So I was like, all right, we're gonna meet in the student union. So that way, if this is weird, I can escape. And so show up, me and him hit it off immediately, become really good friends. And he introduced me to the magic scene in Orlando because I didn't realize how many great magicians actually lived in Florida. And so at the time, Jeff Kaler and Anton James had this estate called the Magic Estate, where every couple of months they would have these massive jams where magicians would come from all over the place and tons of muggles who just love magic. And so he took me to one of these jams, and at the first one, so I met Jeff and Anton, but I also met Michael Amar, I met Chad Long, I met Robbie Moreland, Mike Eden, so like all of these really great guys, Terry Ward goes to Kimlot, and it just sort of like blew my mind. I was like, I did not realize all these guys like were over here, and it was like really cool. And that honestly is sort of what got me, I think, into the magic community because I met, like I said, I met Jeff and Anton and Chad. And so that night, everyone was like, "Oh, like do a trick, do a trick." And so I performed a trick I had come up with, which actually, if you look at my latest post, it's that trick. So it's impeached. But I was performing it, and everyone was like, "Wow, that's really good," which was really exciting to me because I'm like, "Wow, like Chad Long likes my trick. Like what's going on?" And so I stayed in contact.
Is the bill vanished? Or,
No, so
or the
impeached was a thought of celebrity's face on a borrowed dollar bill.
oh.
For that one. Yeah, so that was one of the first ones. And so I spoke with Jeff and Anton and we stayed in touch and then they were like, "Well, you know, we produce magic. We'd love to do that trick with you." And I was like, "What? Like this is crazy." Because for me, I had stuff in magazines, but this was like the first time I was going to have like an actual product. And so we filmed it together. And then I ended up actually that sort of like steamrolled me with other companies, because now that I had something that was like produced, when I would speak to other companies like Murphy's, they were now interested because they would know that like, oh, like someone obviously financially trusted him to back a product, so let's see what he has, and that's sort of what like steamrolled everything. But it's all because of Sean. If I hadn't met Sean, I would not have met like half of those magicians, which essentially like completely set up my entire career. So that's how it happened. So it was just a chance instant message on the Theory 11 forums, and that's sort of how this whole thing happened.
And
So
there's the snowball effect. That's awesome.
exactly, it
What's been
was
your
really cool.
favorite like memory throughout your magic career?
Oh man, that's
That you
tough
don't
because yeah, it's tough because like I have like a lot of different moments. Like for me, like one of the moments for sure was I would do these magic shows in New York because my aunt is a special needs teacher, and so I would come up to New York and there'd be these like special needs fairs. And there was one that I went to, and I saw this woman who was sort of sitting by herself, not really talking to anyone. And so I come up to do magic for her, and I realized she's deaf. And now I took sign language in high school, so I
Oh,
actually
that's cool.
knew. So I started doing magic for her, and I did an entire show just for her. And like it was such a cool moment because like this was someone who normally wouldn't have been able to enjoy what was going on, and had her own like private show. So like that was great. There was also another moment that same summer where I did a show for a school of special needs adults, and I did the magic coloring book trick for them. Just because with special needs adults, the kids show that I would do was like perfect for them. They loved it. So I did the magic coloring book, and at the end there was this one guy who came up to me, and I still have this, but he pulled out a page from his coloring book, and he showed me the drawing, and he's like, okay, make it vanish, and he shook it, and he just turned it around. But it was like the cutest, sweetest thing, and then he gave it to me, and so I still have that. It's back in Florida, but it's just like that was like such a cool moment for me. So those two definitely stand out. And then I guess outside of performing, um, I mean the first time I met Garrett Thomas was mind blowing because I was so excited to meet him. I showed him some of my stuff, and he was just like, "This is great," and we just hung out together, me and him, for like 4 hours. He completely wrecked my brain, but it was really exciting because like he was someone who like I really looked up to, and I'm like, this guy works for David Blaine, and I mean it's Garrett Thomas. This is crazy, and he likes my magic, and we've been friends ever since. Actually, he just posted a video today of like an interactive trick you can do at home. And a couple of nights ago, we were on FaceTime, just like chatting for a couple hours, and he was showing me those tricks, and like I felt like a kid again because I was like, I don't understand how any of this is happening. How are you doing this, Garrett? You are in Buffalo. I am in Montreal. How are you knowing what card I'm choosing? It was crazy. So a lot of those are probably some of my favorite moments. I mean, there's tons of them, but I would say those are like the top three for
Yeah,
sure.
no, those are super sweet moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Garrett Thomas. Yeah, I first saw him and met him at the Magic Castle and blew me away. And,
Oh, nice.
yeah, he's amazing. Good guy. Very good presence. You know, I like
Yeah.
that.
No, Garrett's one of my favorite people to talk to. Um, yeah, it just because like we'll talk, and he and I have very similar interests, so it's great just because we're able to talk a lot about magic, but then also we're just like able to talk like TV shows and stuff
Right,
like
right.
that, and so it's cool, and like it's also still surreal to me just because of the fact that like this was like one of like my magic heroes. And like the other day we were just talking about TV shows. I'm like, is this happening? This is like such a weird.
Now we're
Okay, this is
friends.
cool. Exactly, exactly.
I think that's the coolest thing in the magic community. Like you literally can jump that next step and
Yeah,
be with them. And I think in a lot of other fields, it's not so much like that. I mean, even like, I mean, sometimes in the music world, it's like that. Like I was really into music too,
mhm,
but there was, I mean, every community has their cliques, but then
yeah,
you can really get up there with them, and you can really be right next to them and be friends with them, and it's not really
exactly.
even sometimes has to do with your profession. You guys,
Yeah,
I find a lot of people, even friends in the magic community, that I'll actually talk to, and we won't really talk magic. And I think that's really cool how I have a friend that I met through magic
Mhm.
And then there's people on the other side of the spectrum where it's like, I would never hang out with you, but because you do
Yeah.
magic, we're talking and hanging out. And
Yeah,
like we're
no,
best friends that
it's
way.
exactly, yeah, it's cool. Like I definitely appreciate that like with the Magic community, I feel like anyone technically has the possibilities of like becoming friends with each other, which I think is cool. And then I also think it is cool that like you guys can have friendships that are just in Magic, but then you can also have friendships that like trans transcend the
Yeah,
Magic
it
world. So it's
branches
like
on
it's
stuff.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why this is such a privilege to do this, and I'm really grateful to have all these magicians. I've been doing it for like, I think it's like, I got to keep track. I think it's like 50 something ever since
That's crazy.
quarantine. And it's been really cool.
Yeah.
It's super humbling to just to share and gain the wisdom and just to check in with one another because it's just a big family, big crazy
It's
dysfunctional family.
honestly,
We're all just
yeah.
learning how to live with one another.
No,
And
I have to say that's one of the good things about quarantine is like you guys doing yours. That I know Benjamin Earl has been doing some Global
yeah,
Magicians. Like
Ben
there's
is
been so
awesome.
many different groups who have been doing different video interviews, and it's been so cool. Just because it's like, yes, right now might not be the best time for performing live magic, but I feel like right now is the best time to be learning magic and learning about new magicians because now with all of you guys doing these videos, like you might have someone on that you might not know, and now you go, whoa, this person's really cool, and you might now just discovered your new favorite magician. So it's like I think it's great
Yeah.
that you've been doing this. This has been awesome. So
Same, yeah. It's almost overwhelming for me because I'm like, man, so much stuff coming in. I'm like, all right,
I can
I'll
imagine.
take it easy and enjoy it. And then you never know where it goes because we're just live, we're just chatting. It's not like I have a rehearsed like
Yeah,
questionnaire interview. I mean, it's like a Q&A interview type of
exactly.
free flow, fun. And
Yeah, there
yeah,
was
if
no
anyone has
script he sent
questions, you could
me. I didn't
always
memorize anything.
yeah.
So
We are not robots. We're just using the robot machine to connect.
exactly.
No, it's so cool. So what have you been working
Yeah.
on since the quarantine? What have you been diving into for yourself?
Oh man. Well, so there were two projects I was working on pre-quarantine that I'm really excited about. I got a prototype literally like the day before we all had to get on lockdown for a new trick. I won't say too much because I'm still working on it, but I'm excited. And then also I've been working on a cool magic wallet. And
Ooh.
that's as much as I'll say, but I just saw a video of the final prototype and it's going to be coming soon. And I am so excited for that. So like those have been like the two big things I've been working on. But then it's also just working on posting more content from Instagram.
Yeah.
Like I said, I posted a new video today that I literally finished editing like 5 minutes before I was getting ready for the call because I totally got the times confused. So I was like, oh no, I have 5 minutes before, and then I was like, oh wait, it's not for another hour. Okay, cool. I have a moment to read. But yeah, so I've been working on posting more social media stuff. I have
You're
a
awesome.
book I've been writing for the past couple of years that I just haven't had a lot of time. So now I've been having a little bit more time to keep on working on it. And then the other thing is I used to do gaff playing cards all the time. And then once I got my job, I didn't really have any like time to really just build fun gimmicks. And so I've been getting back into making gimmicks and stuff. So I just ordered a bunch of like dental dam and a knife sharpener for my X-Acto blade and stuff like that, just so I can start getting back into making some cool, crazy gimmicks. So, because that's
Yes,
how
I know
Whiplash
now's the
came to
time
be.
to like
So,
just restock on all those gimmicks so you're just ready.
exactly, exactly.
I feel you too. It's fun. I mean, it's part of the process in magic. It's really fun. And it's like it's another art project. You're making
Yeah,
it's like behind the scenes art project.
exactly. Yeah, it's cool because I feel like when you build like a gimmick or a prop or something, like you have like the satisfaction of doing like an arts and craft project, which is always fun. And then like you have like another satisfaction because then you go, wow, I built something. And then you have like the third satisfaction of now I can use this to like impress people. So it's like it just keeps on getting better and better. And I feel like there's like no real downside to it because it's just like
Yeah,
you have
and
fun
it's
making
so
something.
exciting. And I'm sure is it tough for you like when you do create something and then it's like for yourself, and then you create it to impress people and just show this illusion. But then also it's like in the magic community, you kind of want to almost share the idea or maybe the secret. You know, I have that
Yeah.
feeling too. It's like, oh, I just learned this and I want to just kind of share it with you guys. You know, what do you think?
It's so tough because they'll be like, sometimes I'll come up with something, I'm like, I want to make a video of this so bad so people can see. But then I go, wait a second, I don't want to do that because if I do that, then a bunch of other people are going to start doing it. And like, I want to really develop this before I share it. So it's like you have to find that balance of like, okay, what am I willing to share right now? And what do I need to know? Like, hold on, I really want to work on this a little bit longer before I put it out there. So it's tough. And there's been tons of times where Jeff will definitely agree with this, where I've been like, oh my God, I'm going to go post this. And he goes, should you post it yet? I mean, I think you should keep this, like, keep working on it. And I go, you're right, I should keep on it. And I just get so excited that I just want to go do it. So.
Yeah, it is strange when you have that feeling like of, and I've been there too, where like I have this idea and then I share it, and then it's like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't. You know, you got to learn how to like hold out on your own original concepts, because once it's out there, then anyone can just grab it and take it, and then maybe produce it before you ever get a chance. And it's like, oh
exactly,
no. Oh no.
Yeah, and like as a creator, like it's tough because also I feel like once you start releasing a lot of stuff, people just sort of get in the mindset that if you are a creator, anything that you post means you're going to release it. And so that's hard though, just because like as a performer, there's stuff that I want to hold on to myself. And like when I create magic for me because I want to do it, not because like I want to sell this thing and go, oh, this is going to sell 1,000 copies in a day. Like, no, I create stuff for me. And so it's tough sometimes because you'll post stuff and you'll have so many people be like, oh, you have to release this. I want to learn this. I want to learn this. And I go like, but no, this is my baby. I want to hold on. I want to hold on to this. So it's definitely tough because that's another reason why it's like sometimes hard to post things, because you're excited, you want to share, but then you know also that people are going to want to do it, which is incredibly flattering, but it's also like, but this is mine. I want to keep it for now. Like, I'm going to hold on to this.
To adopt my baby yet, or
exactly. So
it really is like that. It's like there's such a strong connection. It's an extension of you. So you almost feel like someone just takes it. It's like they just took a part of you, and you're like, oh. But it's a weird feeling. It's like a double-edged sword. Where you're like, okay, yeah, that's awesome. People like it.
Exactly.
And that's.
So that being said,
it could be difficult. You know, I think it's kind of interesting to see that, because right now you're seeing a lot of magicians and a lot of just entertainers and artists in general putting out work. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff and a lot of work that I've never seen magicians, because I know they hold out on all their creations. And in a way, I think it's also helping upgrading the magic level, because now people are aware of this and they're like, okay, well, now I have this idea, and then now it's just upgrading, it's evolving.
Exactly.
And it's a part of that push and pull, though. It's like, what do I need? You got to know what to hold on to and what to let go and put out, and I guess that's a timing thing too.
100%. Yeah, no, it really is like that. And like it's strange because like I said, like there's some things where like I'll post and people will want to do it immediately. I'm like, no, like I want to hold on to this. And then there's other things that I'll post and I'm like, I just want everyone to perform this. For me, it's so exciting seeing it. And so we talked about phase, and so we actually just updated phase with a new trick. So if you already own it, it's already added to your accounts, and if you get it now, you get both of them. But for me, I get so excited when I get tagged in a post if someone's performing like phase or whiplash or anything like that. It's always so exciting for me because it's cool seeing like something that I've spent time creating in someone else's hands, and then it's even cooler seeing what ideas they have, because there are tons of things that like I've seen people do that I never would have thought of, and seeing them perform it with it, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like it's such like an exciting, it's such a cool feeling.
You see those different variations and different techniques, maybe an additional subtlety or addition to the gimmick or something, and you're like, whoa, it's cool. It's like seeing your baby grow up.
Exactly. Yeah, a great example of that is my effect Invisible, which is an Omni bill.
Yeah.
So I love that one.
Recently.
Thank you. Yeah, so I love that one. I perform it all the time. And when I was creating it, there was something I wish I could have done, but I could not figure out how. And then Ekaterina, who lives here in Montreal, we became friends. And one day she's like, "Hey, I have something cool to show you." And she pulled out an invisible that she made, but she made it in a way that I had always wanted to, and I just couldn't before. And it
Oh,
was so exciting for me because I was like, I can't believe you did it. This makes it so much better. Oh my God, like you have to tell me how you did it. And it was like, it was such a cool feeling because it was what I had always wanted to do and I couldn't figure it out. And because someone else took it and they were performing it, they figured out what was needed. And so I was like, oh, Ekat, you're amazing. Like, you have to show me how to make these so I can get some. I immediately, I was like, okay, like I handed her money. I'm like, can you please make me some? And she's like, it's your trick. I'm like, no, you just came up with something so cool. Like, I want this. So yeah, it's really, it's so cool seeing other people like perform your work.
yeah, that's the
So
good
for
thing about.
everyone watching, if you do anything of mine, tag me. I will definitely 100% check it out. I love seeing that
Yes,
kind of stuff. So
yes, definitely, definitely, yeah, definitely. Just check out his work in general. A lot of great content. And
thank
is that
you.
your is Instagram your favorite platform? What do you like to use? Is that what you use
Yeah,
most?
Instagram is definitely the one I use most. I mean, I repost my Instagram videos onto Facebook. I also use TikTok, which I've been like exploring more recently, just because that's like an entire different beast. But I
Yeah,
really like Instagram, just because I feel like Instagram is a really great place for the magic, just because of the fact that anyone can discover it, but also you can build a consistent audience who really likes the things that you do. And I've met some really great friends through Instagram. Um, DK Magician is a super cool dude, and we met through Instagram. And so that's why I really like it because I feel like on Instagram there's a magic community, especially like I mean with pages like yours and stuff like that. It's
definitely.
cool that I feel like that's not really there yet on like other social media places. Like you have magician groups on Facebook, but it's not necessarily the same because you don't always have everyone who's creating stuff in those groups. And then on TikTok, there's a bunch of magicians, but like they're not really all interacting with each other. So for me, Instagram, I think is definitely my favorite, just because of the ability to interact and to immediately find other people doing similar things or following pages which will talk about other magicians and go, oh, that's really cool. Who's that guy? Oh, that's a cool video they reposted. I want to go check out more of their stuff. So, like, for me, I think the Instagram community is like the best and easiest way to sort of discover more magicians out there. So,
Yeah, it's crazy how far the spider web goes and it
yeah,
branches out so much. I mean, I've gone to that hole. It's just like YouTube. You can kind of go to that like YouTube hole where you're just going
yeah,
on from page to
exactly.
page. And Instagram's the same thing. You're like, oh, whoa, there's this guy. Oh, who's this guy? Oh,
Yep,
whoa, whoa, whoa. It's never ending.
definitely,
And
definitely.
it really shows you how huge the magic community is. I didn't realize it until Instagram,
Yeah.
honestly.
No, it's crazy, especially because you'll see some of these like hashtags that people have created for magic, like I hate camera tricks magic, and you'll see how many posts have used them, and you're just like, how is that even possible that it's like
Yeah.
grown that big from using all these different hashtags, or like Instagram magician or daily magic or things like that people have created for their own posts, and it just was sort of like exploded from there, which is just such a cool thing to know that you could click on any hashtag in any magician's post and find like 15 new magicians you've never seen before, which is so
Seriously,
cool.
definitely help me find you. If I, most of the people on this
Yeah,
this
exactly.
live
I
stream.
mean, I wouldn't have heard of you if it wasn't for Instagram, so I'm so
Yeah.
glad that we did.
So how do you find balancing your time through like social media and doing like the work, like the real work, or yeah, like how do you find? What's your like
Yeah,
routine throughout the day?
I mean, so because of quarantine, it's obviously been very different.
Yeah.
Um, but I try to keep it kind of similar to what it was before, just because it's good to have like a routine, especially in times like this where people aren't like going anywhere. So for me, normally what would happen is I will like during the week, Monday through Friday, obviously I have my work. And then on the weekends, normally every couple of Saturdays, I film a magic video or a couple magic videos to like prepare to post them uh, on Instagram. And the thing is, like, I'm always creating. So like at work, I always have a deck of cards or Rubik's cube or something that like I'm fiddling with as I'm working. And I'll come up with ideas and I might write them down or like during my lunch break, film a quick video just to remind myself. But then like on the weekends is when I really will go, okay, I'm going to do something. Or if it's like in an evening, one day after work, and I'm not tired or anything, I'm just like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go figure out what my video is going to be for this Saturday, and let me plan it all out so I can just quickly film it, edit it, and get it out there. So that's sort of what's been my routine. And now with quarantine, it's been pretty much the same, except now I've been putting out a little bit more content just because of the fact that before, like on weekends, sometimes I would go out with friends or I would go over to my neighbors to play D&D. But now that we're all inside, like since I'm not physically going anywhere, I have a little bit more time and a little bit more freedom to film a couple of things. So, yeah.
That's good. No, that's good. I know it's same here. It's just trying to keep. I think getting into quarantine, it's like, oh, it's a little depressing. You take like a week
Oh,
off.
100%.
It's not like, what do I do now?
Yeah,
But then
definitely.
after that, it was like I feel like now I'm getting back into that routine and actually doing work. And I'm just kind of back to a normal life, but now it's a fresh approach, which is
Exactly.
pretty cool. There's always new ways of doing things. I think that's the best thing about being confined. You just work how to adapt and evolve and see what works the best.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
you guys got some great ACAN ideas, huh?
Yeah. So I love, honestly, that project was a lot of fun. I love the ACAN plot, and I think it's such a cool premise. Like, I know a lot of people don't like it because they go like, oh, there's so much dealing that you have to have your spectator do. But I've always found it really cool. It just feels like
It's pretty
that impossible.
straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. And so I love that. And there are so many great ACANs out there, but like for me, I don't have a deck memorized. Now I'm learning one right now, actually. That's something I'm doing with quarantine.
Same. I'm just finally getting mnemonica.
Exactly, yeah. So, but I've never had one memorized, and like I wanted to come up with ways of doing that same amazing trick without having to like memorize a deck because at the time I didn't have the ability to start learning one. Like I was too busy with things. And so that whole project came from me coming up with like, okay, well, I love the plot. How can I do it? All right, I came up with one. All right, that one's kind of cool. How do I come up with a better one? All right, I got another one that I like. Okay, how do I come up with one that doesn't need a table? All right, I got a third one, and just kept on coming from that. But that one's a really fun project, and I'm personally really proud of it, just because I filmed and edited the entire thing by myself. ECAT helped me film, but like I did it all on my own, produced it, planned it. So that one was really cool for me. So thank you. I appreciate the comment on that.
Yeah, no, that's super rad. I didn't even know you pretty much dived into everything. You got Rubik's cubes, cards, money. That's cool. That's what I love about you is like you're very very versatile. You've got you're not just a card guy.
Exactly.
I think that's really really fun. I mean, cards are fun, but I really like a little bit of everything else. I can watch a guy do a whole card set, and it can be very entertaining because I know it's not just about the cards; it's about the persona.
Yeah.
But I really like the idea of seeing other objects. I think it's for a layman. I remember looking at magic before I really got into magic and seeing that like when someone used a quarter or a bill, it was just way more connected and or like mentalism. When I saw mentalism, I felt like, oh, that's super cool because it's just we don't need
100%.
sometimes.
Well, it's really funny because like when I first got into Magic, I remember specifically I was like, I don't want to learn any card tricks. I want to learn how to do Magic with anything but cards because I want to be able to just do Magic all the time. And I think that's sort of like what pushed me originally in the direction of like trying to learn how to do as much Magic as possible with as many different things. And then eventually I obviously like realized, wait, hold on, like that's silly. I shouldn't limit myself from doing something just because I'm like, oh, everyone else does card tricks. So if you're going to do card tricks, you have to make sure you do card tricks cool. So it got me into focusing on just everything when it comes to close-up Magic. And for a while, I didn't do any mentalism. Now I love mentalism. I do tons of mentalism stuff. So it's like it's really cool just being able to be such a versatile performer and having all those different like genres of close-up Magic and having the options to perform them. Because like even though I do a lot of money magic and I know that's what I'm known for, in reality when I perform you don't see me pulling like $68 bills from my wallet to do various build tricks. Like I do a little bit of everything just because of the fact that I know that I am not the kind of performer who could entertain a room for 2 hours just with a deck of cards. I know that for me to entertain you, I need to personally be entertained. And for me to be entertained, I need to switch things up. I'm very ADD in real life. I'm ADD in my magic. So we'll do a card trick, then we'll do a build trick, then we'll do a Rubik's Cube, then we'll do coins and mentalism, and I just move around. And it's because for me, I enjoy that. And I want you guys to enjoy me enjoying stuff, basically. So we enjoy it all together.
And you're a real worker. You put out the work. You know, you go out and you do it. And you test.
Exactly. Yeah. Before I moved here to
Work
Montreal, I was a
things.
restaurant magician. So
And that's really good as a creator. I mean, because I know there's some creators that put out work and they just create and they don't really perform it. And it may be good,
exactly.
but sometimes it's like, oh, it's not as practical or it's not as real world working.
100%. Yeah, that for me was always important. Is like, I mean, right now, obviously, with everyone being home, now is actually the perfect time to come up with impractical methods, since you can do it just on camera and you don't have to worry about anything. But for me, like, it was always important that if I came up with something, it had to work, because I didn't want to come up with this great trick that wouldn't work all the time. Like, I wanted to be able to know that, okay, I could go perform this for a group and then perform it for another group, because I feel like if I was really magical, I should be able to do that. I shouldn't have to go, oh, sorry, I ran out of doves at that table. I can't do anything for you here. Like, I should be able to pull out another dove kind of deal, or whatever it is. That was that impossible moment. So for me, it was really important to come up with things that were practical, workable, easy to do, just because of the fact that I wanted to be able to give anyone that moment who wanted to come see it. So.
Yeah, you want to make sure you have a well-fed baby before you put it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna
exactly.
move real fast because I know it's just people are
No
probably
worries.
getting ready. I'm in an apartment complex. Mother's Day.
No worries.
To your families.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, that's good to have a credible source like you to know that you worked it, and now we could work it. Because without that,
Thank
it
you.
would, I've bought certain effects and tricks, and I'm just disappointed sometimes because it looks so good on the trailer.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, nowadays it's kind of interesting because now we're doing a lot of virtual magic or camera magic, and there's a lot of those tricks that I will get, and it's kind of, I realize it is made for the camera, and
Exactly.
now I'm kind of going back to them. I'm going through my little junk drawer, and I'm like, actually, now I could start performing and making more videos.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, now is great for social media magic. Like, everyone's at home, and everyone's on their phones. Now is the perfect time
Right?
to make content for people to see.
And what do you think about the virtual magic shows? Are you doing any virtual shows?
I haven't done any virtual shows just because, luckily, I mean, I'm grateful enough to have a full-time job, so I'm still employed. So that's been my primary focus. But I think it's so cool that so many people have adapted to these virtual shows, and it's really exciting seeing how performers are switching for it. Just because, like, I don't know personally if I could do a full show virtually. Like, I used to do live streams, and I would do stuff on live streams, but it's very different than performing in real life. And so I give so much credit to all these magicians who have had to completely redesign their show from the ground up and have been killing it, which is such an exciting thing, knowing that, like, people are able to find that flexibility and adapt and overcome the crazy challenges. That way they can just keep on showing people great magic. So
yeah,
it's been really cool seeing
I think
that.
it's really cool too. I mean, and it's tough. We could relate to that because
Yeah,
we've tried it
100%.
out. I've just done like 2, and one was for fun. And that was really awkward, and then I kind of got the hang of it. Now I'm working on one because I just joined. What's his name? John Mono. They're gonna do like a 24-hour magic show for another fundraiser.
Oh, cool.
This next weekend, and so it's gonna have.
Oh,
I
wow,
think it's
that's
gonna have
awesome.
like 40 or 50 magicians, like go
Oh,
from around
wow.
the world, and I think that's really cool. So I'm like, yeah.
That's exciting.
Oh, now I got to work on something, and just even thinking of marketing myself that way too. I saw what was really cool recently because I'm in like the whole busker world. I like all the street performers, and one of my friends, Martika, she is doing like drive-by shows and like driveway shows.
Oh, wow.
So for families, they're hanging out on their driveway in their front yard, they're in their lawn chairs, watching a show, like a street show basically,
That's
because
cool.
she do
That's
it on the
really
street,
cool.
and she has her car like marketed with her banner and all that, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that's super cool to keep the show going, you know?
That's a really great idea. Yeah, it's cool seeing how many people have come up with like creative and different ways
Yeah,
of doing it. I saw a magician who he wanted his audience to be able to like see the audience because like normally when you go to a
yeah,
show, you see the other people surrounding the magician.
right.
And so he set up TVs behind him so that way their faces were on the TV. So that way
Oh,
when he was talking to them, rather than looking at the camera, he could look at their face on the screen and it felt a little bit more like he was interacting with the person. I just thought that was just like such a cool way of like making your show the best of a situation and adding that extra element. So I think the fact that you said that your friend is doing these like driveway shows, that's such a cool idea. And that's like such a great idea. So it's awesome that people are trying to come up with unique ways to do new things, but still give us like the same experience that everyone has like come to love of watching a magic show.
yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. I think so many creative things are coming out of this moment,
Yeah, big
and
time.
people are definitely evolving, adapting to the times, and yeah, it's cool. You know, even me, I'm so inspired lately, and I
Mhm.
think it took a month to get that. You know, like after the first month, it was kind of hazy, and now it's like now I feel on fire. I feel so much like
Yeah,
creativity and inspiration and love really through like the community that we have here, and even
definitely.
family. You know, just getting connected.
No, it's
And
it's definitely a crazy time, but I think there's a lot of good that has been coming from it. So
yeah, for every disaster, there's some new opportunity.
exactly, there's always a silver lining. So
Exactly. So I always ask one last question. Is what is your prediction after all this, after the isolation, when we're
man,
back to normal, whatever that is? What do you think it's going to be like for Magic?
I mean, I feel like some things are definitely going to change. Like I know that like some tricks you're just not going to be able to do for a while. Like French kiss, it's an amazing trick. I
Yeah, like
don't think
card to
people are
mouth.
going to be doing it for the longest time. But I think it'll be slow initially, but I think things will get back to normal. I think magicians may have to just come up with less interactive physically tricks right away, but I think it'll build up. I think honestly, mentalism probably is going to be really big. So I think right now, if you don't know any mentalism, you should definitely learn it, just because propless mentalism, not being needing to touch someone and still have such an amazing, powerful effect, I think is going to be really, really big. So I think that's going to be like the biggest change initially. Is there's going to be some things that you just have to adapt. Like you probably aren't going to be doing a lot of body loading or pickpocketing or mouth things right away. But I think eventually things will go back to normal. It may take a bit, but I don't think it's like the death of close up magic. Like I know some people are freaking out and going,
Yeah.
magic's never going to be the same. I'm going to have to be like an illusionist now. I'm never going to be able to do close up. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it will take time, but I think eventually things will go back to how they were for the most part. Maybe some changes, but for the most part, I think they'll be pretty similar. So
Yeah, that's good.
that's my
Keeping the
prediction.
optimism.
So trying to, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I
you
feel like
got
you
it.
have to be positive. So because if you're just going to be negative the whole time, it's not going to be good. So be positive and focus on the good things. And
Thank you for your time, man,
yeah,
and
thanks for
thank
having
everyone
me.
else
This
for
was a
joining
blast.
us. Any last parting advice?
Oh man. I guess the biggest thing I would say is magic history is so important, whether it's just like knowing crediting for tricks or just sort of like knowing where things come from. And so I would say like now is like the best time to really like try and like brush up on your magic history, just because I think it will save so many problems down the road where like someone releases a trick that has already been released, or someone comes up with a principle that they don't really know what to do with, and it turns out that principle had been done before. That would be my last minute piece of advice. So
That was perfect.
thank you.
Absolutely. Know
Thank
your
you.
history, guys. Check it out.
Exactly.
We got all
It's
the
really
history
important.
lessons, even online now. Now there's so many great. Even
Yeah, there's
I'm
so many
surprised
resources.
YouTube has taken a huge turnaround, and there's a lot of great magicians on YouTube now. And
Exactly.
they're
Yeah. I
sharing
mean,
a lot.
there's YouTube stuff. There's websites like Dennis Bear's site, Conjuring Archive.
Yeah.
I mean, the Magic Cafe can be toxic, but there's a lot of good information there. There's Geniepedia. There's like so many places that like you guys can learn about magic and more things. And
Yeah.
I think the more you know, the better a magician you are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, thanks again, man. I know it's 10 seconds. Here we go.
Ah,
So quick.
thanks for having me so
It's
much.
gone.